Good afternoon, guys, and welcome to the podcast wherever you are in the world today. For all the listeners and viewers today, I have Sara Nay, and she's CEO at Duct Tape Marketing, and she helps businesses on how to build, grow, scale a profitable business. So today's talk is going to be all about marketing, and I'm really excited to welcome Sara to the show. So welcome, Sara.
Thanks for having me on. Happy to be here.
Yeah. Briefly introduce yourself, chronicle your journey, and we will dive into the questions.
Of course. So, as you mentioned, I'm the CEO at Duct Tape Marketing. We've been in business for about 30 years now, and I've been with the company for just over 14. I started as an intern back in December 2010 and have moved through all different roles in the company from intern to community manager to client manager to fractional CMO to operation sales. And now I'm in the CEO seat. So, that's been my journey over the last several years. And Duct Tape Marketing, we are a fractional CMO agency. And so we work directly with small business clients where we come in and we create a marketing strategy. And then we move into a long term retainer, staying in the fractional CMO seat. And for the past 15 or so years, we've actually been certifying other marketing consultants, agencies, and fractional CMOs in our program called the Marketing Leadership Accelerator. And so we teach them how to lead with strategy and how to sit in the fractional CMO seat for businesses. So that's Duct Tape Marketing in a nutshell.
Interesting. And so for the listeners and viewers, describe your ideal client, someone that would just come to work with you. Either they're trying to improve their marketing or trying to eliminate problems. Talk about that, your avatar.
Of course, because we have really two sides of our business, we have two different avatars. And so, if we're talking about a small business that would be hiring us for our fractional CMO type of services, typically we work with companies in the $3 to $40 million revenue range that are in a range of different industries, but they don't really have a key strategy in place. And they're looking to scale up fairly quickly. And so we come in. Oh, and another thing is they need to have at least one marketer on their team. And so for those businesses, we come in and we create the marketing strategy. We build systems and processes based on AI within their business, and we train their team on how to execute marketing moving forward. And we stay in more of the leadership role for those clients. And then the other side of our business is the Marketing Leadership Accelerator. So that's really our accelerator, our certification program. And so for that, we have agencies that are under 10 join us. And then we have a lot of solopreneurs join us as well. So those are consultants, coaches, fractional CMOs. And really, that program is for people that want to lead with strategy and be positioned as a fractional CMO. And so an agency might be doing a lot of project based work, but they want to shift more into this strategy and leadership work. So we help them make that transition.
Interesting. Which brings me to my question is in after COVID, everything is up for grabs and strategies and industries are changing. What are companies, businesses doing? How are they approaching marketing wrong? And how is AI affecting this? And how are you helping clients position themselves to succeed?
Yeah, there's a lot of challenges in the marketing space right now. I would say with the evolution of AI, with the economy, with a lot of uncertainty. And there's a lot of businesses that are having to shift how they're marketing right now. And so we're seeing that evolution. And where, to your first part of your question, like where I see people struggle with marketing is they just dive into tools or tactics without actually understanding things like who is my target market and what message resonates with them and what's my customer journey look like, because you really have to have all of that stuff mapped out to then be able to determine like what content you'll produce on what channels at what cadence. And so all the time I hear people say, oh, I need this ads campaign, but they don't have their target market or their messaging nailed. So they're going to throw money at this ads campaign that's not going to be effective because they haven't taken that step back and really looked at the big picture. And so where I see people struggle with marketing the most is just diving into to different tactics like that. But then also on the AI piece, that there's all of these AI tools that are being developed right now very quickly. And so I see a lot of small businesses just bringing in all of these tools without thinking about, wait, what do we actually need? What are our goals? What tools can support those goals? And how are we going to approach them strategically? And you might bring in like a chat GPT. And if you don't take the time to like really train it and think about it strategically, like you're just going to be producing more content and more noise. And we've been saying for 30 years strategy before tactics, but now we're saying strategy before tactics and technology, because I believe that's where you can really save a lot of confusion in the marketing and a lot of wasted spend in the marketing is by taking a step back and approaching things strategically from the beginning.
Yeah. And what I really love is you're talking about strategy and what is like when clients work with you, I know obviously you design the whole thing, but what would be like the first step in the strategic process with social media, with AI and this ever-changing marketing economy?
Yeah. So whenever someone's getting started with strategy, I think it makes sense to figure out like a baseline. Where are you at today? So doing a bunch of research is really the first phase of strategy. And so doing things like a marketing and brand audit to see how your brand and company is positioned online and what you're currently doing well and maybe not as well. And so that's kind of the first is getting like your baseline. Where does it stand today? And then from there, layering on like things like competitive research and client interviews to understand like your clients on a deeper level, and then developing personas and messaging. Like that to me is like the first start step in a marketing strategy is doing the research to understand deeply who you're targeting with what message. Because if you don't take the time to do all of that, again, you're just creating content and putting noise out there that doesn't really speak to the right people. And so strategy should begin with an audit and research to then guide what you're going to actually plan out moving forward.
Interesting. And what are you, I know we touched upon AI, but what are your thoughts on like specifically how AI is impacting the marketing world?
Yeah, it's making a huge impact, just like it is in a lot of industries. I don't think marketing's alone in that, but really I see it impacting marketing in two key ways right now. For one, it's able to handle a lot of the execution for certain things. And so it's up leveling marketers because they're able to be able to focus on higher payoff tasks. And so, for example, in the past, if let's say you were writing a blog post, you would have to go out and do manual research, you would have to write an outline, and then you'd have to write the blog post, and then you have to optimize it from a keyword standpoint and then edit it to get it across the finish line. Now you can use AI to do something like create a deep research report on a specific topic through a tool like ChatGPT, create the blog outline from there based on research, and then create a first draft trained on your tone of voice and style and all of those good things. And then now you're able to just edit the blog post, get it across the finish line. And so you're able to do, I would argue, higher quality work at a faster rate if you're leaning into AI with execution to essentially assist you and your team, not necessarily replace marketers, because you still need humans directing AI in the front end and then editing AI in the back end. Another key way it's really impacting marketing as well is the strategy piece. And before, when we were creating like a marketing strategy for a business, it was all manual research. Like we would be researching the competitors, we'd be going to all of their websites and diving deep into their messaging. And we're still doing that because you still need to have the human looking at the websites and analyzing things. But we're able to create, again, a deep research report to go out and do deep research on top competitors. And so we have more information guiding our strategy as well. So those are the two key areas I see is it's helping with a lot of like repetitive execution, and it's also helping with creating better strategy.
Hmm, interesting. What about in terms of because you mentioned like the research, deep research, and also what about like the generative portion, especially with video and images? What are your thoughts on how that is impacting marketing?
Yeah, I think it's making it easier for people to do things like create images where before you were left to stock photos and stuff that you could find online. And so I think the image creation piece is helping for like better presentations and better graphics and better logos to put or images to put within blog posts and all that good stuff. So there's some great tools out there. Napkin AI is one of them that you can basically plug in a blog post or content and it will create different graphics and stuff to go along with it. So there's some great tools like that are out there. And the video piece too, I think there's a lot you can do with video. And so I hear a lot of people talk about a tool called Hey Gen. I haven't personally used it, but basically you're able to create videos that essentially look like they're coming from you, that's trained on your content and given your material to then basically create video. And so I think that's a positive thing for people that are maybe if not comfortable getting in front of a camera to record a lot of video. But we work with a few thought leaders that they don't want to come off as trying to fake or confuse their users by putting like this AI video that's representing them that's not them. And so we have some companies that we're working with where they're using a tool like HeyGen, but they're making it very clear this is AI version of Sarah, and we're using it to make more of an impact out there. And so I think if you're like hesitant on using some of those tools, then maybe disclose to your audience that you're leaning into these different tools to get more of the message out there, but you're not trying to fake them.
Interesting. A mentor of mine, he was telling me that in today's, I think when social media came on the scene, the best way to market was just a iPhone camera and just be authentic and
Yeah.
vulnerable. And AI is not, for now, it can't replicate human authenticity. So how do you position in marketing where like authenticity, vulnerability is important? How does AI play into that?
Yeah, we were talking a lot about how AI can replace like content production, a lot of the repetitive tasks, but what it can't replace, as you're saying, is that human actual connection. And so we're actually seeing a shift from there's just more and more content online right now because it's easier than ever to produce. And so how people can stand out is actually connecting with humans beyond just that mass level of content. And so doing things like actually sending things in the mail is effective. Like that used to be a thing and we got away from it and now it's more effective. Doing things like press releases are becoming more of a thing because you actually are getting that credibility. Actually picking up the phone and calling prospects as it makes sense and having human conversations. Like people are really appreciating those personal touches because there is so much being done online. And that's another thing that AI can't really do well yet. I always have to say yet because who knows what will be, but is the whole emotional intelligence of humans and understanding and connecting with humans. Like it's obviously lacking that because it's not a human. And so that's what we need to bring as marketers to the stories we're telling is we can use the research and data and information that's coming from something like AI, but we need to put that human connection on top of it to really suit our audience.
Interesting. A follow-up question I have for you is in terms of because you mentioned how people are going back to just direct, I think it's like direct response mail and kind of these old school techniques.
Yeah.
Where in terms of clients, where should like they be focusing their attention? Are TV and radio dead, or is it like is the game won on social media? How do you view that?
It completely depends on what industry you're in, to be honest. So, like TV and radio works well for like home service, HVAC contractors, remodelers, like companies like that. But it's not as relevant for other businesses, maybe in the B2B side of things. And when we're creating a marketing strategy, one of the things that we map out is the customer journey. So, it's essentially how can someone get to know, trust, try, buy, repeat, and refer a business. And when you're analyzing the no phase, that's basically like how are you getting awareness? You need to answer the question of like, where do my potential clients consume information online or offline and how do they make decisions? And then that should guide where you're putting a lot of your focus. And so for a lot of our like B2B companies that we work with, like LinkedIn is a great platform. For B2C companies, maybe focusing on things like Facebook and Instagram makes more sense. But really, it just comes down to where is your audience? Where do they hang out online and offline? How can you get in front of them? And that's the channels you should focus on.
Yeah. The other thing you touched upon is guiding the customer journey, and how can a small business guide the customer journey?
Yeah, and that's what I was just talking about with the no trust, try, buy, repeat, refer. And if you're listening to this and you haven't really thought about the customer journey, what I would encourage you to do is sit down and think about each of those stages. And so, how are your clients getting to know you today? Are there any gaps or opportunities? And then you think about like, how are you getting people to like and trust you once, let's say, they go to your website? And that can be a lot of authority content and reviews online and video case studies, all of those things are really part of Entrust. Social media can be part of Entrust, email marketing. And then how can people try your services? And so once someone's okay, I'm interested in learning more, can they opt in for a free trial or a free consultation or a free ebook or something like that where they're getting to try things a little bit more? And then buy is okay, once someone's okay, I'm ready to sign up. how can you blow them away by onboarding them effectively, by surprising and delighting them so they become long-term clients? And so it's not just thinking about how do we take a payment? It's like, how do we take a payment, get an agreement signed if that's what it is, but then also how do you absolutely blow them away from day one? And then repeat is obviously how can you get repeat clients? And a lot of that's through providing a great level of service or a great product, but also nurturing them effectively and staying in touch with them and upselling as it makes sense or cross-selling as it makes sense. And then refer is ultimately obviously how do you hopefully turn them into a referral source because they had such a great experience of all of those stages through the customer journey. And the beauty of with referrals is if they refer someone that they know, they'll move through the customer journey so much faster because there's a lot of that trust already built in. And so if you're thinking about, I haven't thought about a customer journey before, like really sit down and map out each of those phases for you and uncover where your gaps are. And then those gaps should become your marketing priorities for the next quarter to really have a comprehensive journey mapped out for your business.
Interesting. We have a few minutes remaining, and there's a lot of times like they say it's marketing and sales. These two departments, it's like the left hand and the right hand. So what's the best way
Yeah.
to align messaging between marketing and sales, and how do you help clients do that?
Yeah, one of the best things that we've done recently is starting to record all sales calls, conversations, and then taking those sales calls and transcribing them and feeding them into an AI solution like a chat GPT to analyze the sales calls. And then when we get a batch of them, we basically then ask for recommendations from a marketing perspective to take what was talked about in those sales calls. So, like pain points and success and what they're struggling with, all those things, to then turn that into marketing messages moving forward. So, it's essentially, then you take that and then you create the different marketing assets to then start educating people on before they even get to a sales conversation. And so you can address like concerns and pushback and all of that stuff pre-sales calls to then get everyone when they're ready for that actual sales call, they have a lot of information and those concerns are already addressed. So that's a really great way to tie sales and marketing in terms of messaging together. It's taking what's said in sales call, directing marketing efforts to address those, and then relating the two together.
Yeah. And so final thoughts is if people wanted to reach out to you and connect with you, learn from you, work with you, how can they do that?
We have a page on our website, dtm.world/growth. You can get a bunch of free assets there. Our website's just Duct Tape Marketing if you prefer that. And then you can find me on LinkedIn. My name is just Sara Nay.
Excellent. Really enjoyed this conversation, and thanks so much for coming on.
I appreciate you having me.